What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How's everybody doing out there on this Wednesday, December 21st of 2022? Before we get into anything fun, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes, spread this word of mouth, find us on the socials, go search the Alex Cuesta Show. David, hi.
Hello.
What are you up to? How are you over there?
I'm very dry. I'm very dusty. My nose is congested, and I don't like it.
Share information that you shouldn't be
you
about
asked.
your.
You did ask.
Her dry and dusty. Who describes themselves that way? What are you, sandpaper?
Unfortunately, me. That's the predicament I'm in right now.
You know, the sad part is I'm going to see you this weekend, and that's not actually making me too happy anymore. So
it's not like it's anything contagious, so you're good.
As we head into this holiday weekend, we have Christmas coming up on this Sunday. Then we bounce it to New Year's in a week. We're already in Hanukkah. Happy everything to everyone. I don't care what you celebrate. Happy, have fun, enjoy this holiday season before, because we're not going to be able to say it before the, after this show. So we're going to have a great show. As always, before we jump into this one, if you haven't already listened to it, we had a special Sunday edition. Dave and I got to talk to our first ever person from across the pond. We talked to Lord Miles Routledge, and anyone that doesn't know anything about him, he's the psycho that decided during COVID to go over to Afghanistan because that was the only place he could take a holiday to. He did. Now the guy hangs out with the Taliban. Dave, we're going to get Taliban headscarves. I am
quite a trip of a podcast.
It was a trip of a podcast. The guys went to South Sudan. He's been to Ukraine. He plans on going to North Sentinel Island. Go keep track of him. Go search Lord Miles. Listen to that show. It was lots of fun. But today's also going to be lots of fun because, we keep on being blessed. People, for some reason, keep saying yes to come on this show. It's, they fail to listen to past episodes and don't realize we suck. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to have a great time. Our guest today is Harrison Krank, not Krank, Krank. Harrison Krank. He's a conservative Twitter personality and a financial advisor. What's going on, Harrison?
How's it going today? I'm just getting over COVID right now, so if I sound nasally, I'll use that as my excuse. So if anything sounds off or weird about my voice, it's 100% the COVID and not me.
You know what's funny? I just got over the flu last week, and and I didn't get my flu shot this year. My wife, over the past few years we've been together, she's a flu shot person. She's like, go get your flu shot all the time. I did it for a little bit. This year's the first year I didn't get it, and of course I get the flu. So now she's all like, get your flu shot next year. And I'm like, I'll consider it, but you're not getting an ironclad yes from me. So I sympathize with you getting over sickness, but
I kind of enjoy the time off of work. I can just hang out at home, scroll through Twitter and kind of suffer at night and hang out on the internet all day.
Are they still making you call the local health board? Because here in New York, if you got COVID and you got a positive, of course, Big Brother knew everything. So New York State was calling us like, hi, how are your symptoms today? You have COVID? And they did that for 14 days straight.
Oh, absolutely not. So the only reason I even know that I have COVID is because every time I would go on a work trip or something, they'd mail me a COVID test I'd never take because I didn't have any symptoms. So I'm like, I'm going to test this out, see if it works. And then it came back positive. So I'm like, all right, this is my second bout with it. It's not too bad. First time I was just knocked on my ass for 2 weeks. And this time I'm not even feeling too much.
That's good.
Yeah. COVID, again, COVID's real. It's a sickness. If you're healthy, it ain't going to kill you. That's kind of how it works. Unless you have a comorbidity or you're old. That's what we've seen. It doesn't, when you're a healthy individual, you're going to get over it. So happy that you are on the mend and we won't hold your nasally sound against you. So let's jump into the show. Today, we had the pleasure in the United States, in our capital, of being blessed by the one, the only Lord Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky made his way over the United States. He was basically smuggled over here in an American jet. And he came over, talked to our famous Vice President, Joe Biden. And then he went over to Congress and gave a speech. And from everything that I've seen, I'm not going to lie, I haven't gone and really watched it completely yet, seen snippets here and there. But from everything I've seen, it was kind of something you're going to expect from hearing Zelensky. Harrison, what's your opinion on the speech and what Zelensky said and what he asked for and all that good jazz?
So honestly, I kind of feel for the guy. Most conservatives out right now are coming out and be like, he can barely speak English. He sucks. He's just money laundering. And I kind of feel for the guy. It's like, if I was in his position, I'd be going to every country I could, begging for money for ammunition and other stuff for the country. So I kind of feel for him in that way. But essentially, the speech was nothing more than a sales pitch to the U.S. Congress. We're about to pass this omnibus bill, this $1.7 trillion bill that nobody's had time to read, 4,000 plus pages in there. I did a word count today on the bill, over 1 million words within the bill. On average, with the average person speaking 230 words per minute, it would take the average person 72 hours to read through the bill nonstop. So Zelensky's here to make sure his portion of it doesn't get cut out. And I kind of feel for that, but I think it's a total waste of money unless we're going to get something on the back end from that. Given that all of the money has to be spent on U.S. defense goods, honestly, I think U.S. congressional spending, when they send it over to Zelensky and they go send that money over to Raytheon for whatever missiles or artillery that they need, Raytheon's going to go send that money back to the politicians in the form of campaign contributions.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's, and it's kind of, my stance on the war has always been, I want Ukraine to win based off the sole reason they were a sovereign nation invaded by another sovereign nation. I don't think any sovereign nation should be invaded. They should be able to fight back their invaders. Initially, again, Russia bad, right? That's kind of where we're supposed to come from. Russia bad. I get it. We can also look at, the NATO pushing Russia constantly, but Russia invaded, get out of another country. I'm cool with that. We initially support them to the tune of a few $1 billion. We've already been supplying them money, right, with weapons in the past. Cool. But now we're up to well over $100 billion. I don't want to fund their war anymore. That's where I'm at. I don't want to continue to fund the war. I really wish other NATO nations would step up and do more. If that's what we're trying to do, then, I get it. Zelensky's coming to us. We keep on giving him money. We're, still the most equipped to give the money. But man, I don't want to keep being their piggy bank. We got a bunch of stuff in this country that those billions could go towards that would really be helpful. That's my stance on the war.
Yeah, the money would be a lot better spent here. Ultimately, I think U.S. interest is, hey, we're going to do Afghanistan 2.0 in Ukraine. I'm not talking about the U.S. Afghanistan. I'm talking about the Russian Afghanistan, where basically that war led to the collapse of the Soviet Union because we basically funded the Taliban and all those bad groups until Russia went bankrupt. I think the U.S. government is basically trying to bankrupt Russia through this war because, hey, we can bankroll it. We're doing a lot better than everybody else in the world. So we're going to drain Russia. But I don't think Russia's our major threat. I think China is who we should be worried about. Yep. Based on this Ukraine war, Russia doesn't seem, if Russia can't take Ukraine in a month, we shouldn't be worried about them at all. No. They'll say nukes. I'm like, nukes are nukes. Nobody's ever going to use them. Nobody's ever going to use them, especially in the United States. And our military fight should be going towards China, not towards the U.S.
And also, I really think that we should also be pointing a lot of our feelers towards India. India just sits there and they have a boatload of money in that country. They have nuclear capability. They have 1 billion people. Yes, they're not as aggressive as China with like the Silk Road Initiative and everything, which China's doing. It looks scary, but it's been backfiring terribly on them every which way. When they buy a port, the port has no money and now they own a freaking port that's useless. But I agree with you. China's a much bigger threat than Russia in every which way, cyber, economically, even militarily. There's a lot that could go on. So I agree with you. We need to begin to focus more on China again, but again, look at who the president is, Harrison. Is he going to touch China? And we really know why Joe Biden is really going really hard in Ukraine. Like, we understand that, the Hunter Biden laptop stuff that we will definitely touch on a little bit. A lot of the things that Hunter Biden did going down there with Burisma, it's all coming out. It's all been proven true. So what's the best way to get a lot of the heat off of them? Oh, there's this war. We have to keep fueling it, keep fueling it. So now all the heat stays off of all the shady dealings, which are coming out more and more and more and more.
nothing makes a U.S. president more popular than a war. We saw that with Bush. We saw that with everybody. Wartime presidents are very, very popular with the American public. And that's why every U.S. president, besides Donald Trump, wanted a war.
And, and it's not like Trump was perfect. Trump, he bombed Syria. There was a bunch of things that went on in Yemen. But for the most part, he wasn't actively engaging a shit ton of troops to go into any other nation and playing president police. So he did a really good job there. Now, one thing that we have now on the conservative side is we have a platform where when things like this go on with Zelensky, we can go and freely complain about it. There's no one now on Twitter, since Elon Musk has bought it over, that is going to sit there and when Harrison, and if you don't follow Harrison on Twitter right now, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Not only does he give a lot of good fun Twitter commentary, he's also funny when he does it. But we can go on Twitter now and we can sit there and criticize someone like Volodymyr Zelensky without the fact checkers putting a nice big blurb underneath. Well, this is not completely correct and this is semi-untrue. What is your opinion, Harrison, right now on how Twitter is going since Elon Musk has bought it?
So Twitter's a cesspool, has always been.
Yes.
It's just more of a cesspool with the right people that can rise to the top of that. I still love the left on Twitter. They're my favorite people to engage with. You can get some high quality trolls in there. But Twitter is heading in the right direction. My concern is, can Elon fund it and can Elon keep it going? And that's my only concern with Twitter right now, because I have no doubts on what Elon can do, and I think he can do it adequately. I just don't. My only doubts are with his funding side of things, because I think his management of the company is great. Laying off half of the company, absolute brilliant thing to do. I wish our government would lay off.
He didn't lay them off. They laid them off themselves. He asked, you want to work like a legitimate person in Silicon Valley should work, 80 hours a week plus. All the women said no, and they all left.
Well, he laid them off before that. So he took 50% of them, because I have a few friends working at Twitter. Some of them no longer working at Twitter. Rest in peace. Miss them so much. But yeah, they basically, I was in a Discord server with a bunch of people working on Twitter, and the next day it was like, all right, who doesn't have access to their email anymore? And that's who got
I love
fired.
That. I love that.
Yeah, it was kind of sad, but it was like, all right, yeah, it's the necessary thing to do, because like all of my contacts at Twitter, like they've always been great to me. So I can't complain about them. It was sad to see some of them go, but it was necessary to see them go.
So, my question is, we see Elon talk, he opened up kind of a lot about Twitter, a lot about what's going on, the fact that they are hemorrhaging money, the fact that he thinks by May they might not be a company with bankruptcy. Aren't we supposed to be told that all these rich, white, evil conservatives exist, right? They're all evil. They're all mean. They're all rich guys. Your Peter Thiels, your Koch brothers, who rest in peace to one of them. So there is no Koch brothers, but where are they now? Why aren't they picking up the ads? Like, where are these people when, I get it. Elon Musk is not on the right. There's that misconstrued. He's not on the right. The guy is a crazy climate changer, which is why he does SpaceX, to go and colonize Mars, because he thinks we're killing our planet via climate change. I always like to bring that up, because people are like, oh, because he likes free speech, he must be on the right. It's like, it's kind of just an American ideal, guys. That hasn't changed. If you don't like free speech, then you're kind of not America. But where are all these guys that and girls and everyone that have companies that can do ads, help out, make sure this doesn't go under?
So I think a lot of them are just turned off on Twitter still. Like, look at President Trump. He doesn't want to come back because Twitter did him so wrong. Mike Lindell, who's a great advertiser for Fox News, he just got reinstated. But how quick would you be to throw money at something? And then all these big companies, I don't think any of them are really political at all. I just think they're grifting for whatever public sentiment that they think is popular.
100%.
They really don't care. But since we live in an internet age and the internet's dominated by the left, they think the world is dominated by the left. So a majority of these rich billionaires, like the really rich billionaires, I don't think they know what Twitter is. Conservatives are so slow at getting on technology.
Yeah.
The left took over Twitter 2 decades ago almost, and conservatives are just finding out what Twitter is now. Conservatives play the game a lot better, but they enter the game a lot later than the left does. The left has already moved on to the next space, while conservatives are celebrating that they finally conquered their first social media platform after a decade and a half.
You know, and that's so true, because look at what Glenn Beck did with the Blaze. He was a rare conservative that was well ahead of his time. And what did conservatives do when he did that? None of them got up and cheered. Like the people on the left, if someone big does something new there, they're really good at, just being sheep and going over and supporting it. What did a lot of conservatives do when he took a chance, made the Blaze all digital? Everyone was just kind of like, oh, he's going to fail. Let's keep on watching Fox News. And then
conservatives are still celebrating that they took over AM radio.
Oh my God.
It's incredible. And, and the thing is, too, and what conservatives need to realize, and, a lot of the new right does, right? Because we own this space. What we're doing right now, podcasting, there's not many very good left podcasts. There is some, don't get me wrong. I got to give credit, like Sam Cedar, he's an idiot, but he has a good podcast, like a very big following. The Daily has a big following in the New York Times. But man, conservative podcasts rule the roost. They are all, you look at the top podcast charts, it's all people like, Dan Bongino has a massive one. Glenn Beck, I don't consider Joe Rogan on the right, even though he's been red pilled, but it's like, that's what should be celebrated right now, right? We don't do enough of this. We don't do enough of, we have all these conversations. We have good shows, but where is the content going? Like, the left would be cheering this. Go listen to this, and this, and this, and get all your content. Here, it's just kind of like, oh, they do it. Great.
Yeah, and I think conservatives have done so well in the podcast space because of that AM radio transition, where it's very easy for conservatives to transfer. Hey, I'm going to throw my radio segments online, or it's basically the same format. We're just talking back and forth. Mm-hmm. We don't have to go on TV. We don't have to put on a ton of makeup and put together all these segments. And I think that's why conservatives dominate the podcast space. Rush Limbaugh laid out the groundwork for all these podcasters to have people sit down and listen to a 3-hour podcast.
I mean, but none of us could do what Rush did. I don't know how many dudes can sit there for 3 hours, no guests ever, and quite literally be interesting. That was a gift. And I know there are a lot of people that don't like Rush. I was raised on Rush. My dad listened to him. I was a Rush baby. And it's like, man, the guy was interesting. For 3 hours, he was funny as hell. He was interesting, and he said what he wanted, and he pushed the envelope as close as you could go without the FCC taking you off 95% of the time. Like, I sure as hell know I couldn't be interesting. That's why I bring Dave here. That's why I bring great guests like you here. Like, if I'm here for 3 hours, I'm quite literally getting negative views.
Yeah, it's like the closest thing I think we can get to Rush now is Ben Shapiro, but a lot of people are turned off by Ben Shapiro because he talks a million miles an hour.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
And
his voice is nasally. I like Ben, but his voice is nasally, and
I listen to a show every day, but he's a quick talker. He's kind of condescending, and he's not very attractive to the older crowd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another issue with Ben, as much as I like Ben, he's that guy that, we've all those teachers and professors that were way too damn smart, a lot smarter than everyone in the room, and they had a tough time dumbing down the content. Ben Shapiro was a young genius savant in terms of politics, and he's just smarter than everybody. And it's just he's that guy where when he talks politics at times, it's like we're all politically active people. There's times when Ben's talking where I'm just like, God, I need to research his whole segment. Like, I have no idea what the hell he just said. Like, he's just a really smart guy. He's a good guy that we have on our side, 100%.
Yeah, especially he can talk circles around people all day and night. And that's what I've noticed. I've been doing a lot of Twitter spaces in the last month or so. Mm-hmm. And I've been on with Sebastian Gorka and a bunch of these other guys, Tom Fitton, and they're all well-researched. I'm pretty well-researched, but articulating those views in a way that you can push back against other people's views regardless of what it is, because Sebastian is so involved in certain issues in politics. Yeah, there's nothing that you can get past him.
Yeah and just we do have a lot of good guys. I think that's rising. I think that's something that the right is going for it, the youth movement on the right, and a lot of the young guys that are really good is lots of fun. So another thing about Elon, how much do you trust Elon right now? to run the show, to do it well. He's been doing a good job. There are some things, when he takes people off and some of the bannings that he does, like people are calling him out, even people on the right, like, hey, this is exactly what we complained about. Like, yes, we laugh at all those reporters in the Washington Post that got suspended temporarily. Taylor Lorenz deserves everything she gets. But then at the same time, conservatives with our morals and values are like, that's funny, but how much do you trust him to do the right thing the whole time? Do you think he's going to be able to hang on? Do you think he's going to keep his nerve in terms of all this free speech stuff that he's going for?
70% of the time I trust him. So one thing I did notice that nobody else seems to notice, every time Elon does a high profile banning, he brings back a lot of conservatives when he brings back those other people. First off, we saw Kathy Griffin. And then once Kathy Griffin came back, he used that as an excuse to bring back a bunch of other people. Yeah. This last time when he brought out all these journalists, he brought back all these banned journalists like Robert Malone and all of those guys, Project Veritas. So I think he's almost using these bannings as, hey, if I unban you at the same time that I unban Project Veritas, you can't complain about Project Veritas being unbanned because free speech. I think it's more tactical that way with Elon Musk, because every time he's unbanned all these liberals, he's unbanned a bunch of conservatives that we've wanted to. I think he's just using it as an excuse to unban these people. The area I don't trust him so much, Neuralink. Who the fuck wants to get Neuralink installed?
No, thank you.
No one.
Because I'll see the occasional conservative be like, I trust Elon with Neuralink. I'm like, hell no. Like,
I don't like Google Glasses. You think I'm going to like Neuralink?
Yeah. And it's like, I think that's an area we should be careful about with Neuralink, where, hey, don't throw all of your trust in Elon Musk. He's not a perfect messiah figure. People are trying to make him the new Donald Trump. It's like, criticize him when he does bad, when he does good, praise him. And he seems to react well to all of that.
Yeah. And, and the messiah figure doesn't exist, right? I think that especially in this day and age of the way politics is, it's so you have to be all in, right? The nuance is really hurting. And there's a lot of people like yourself, obviously Nuance Bro out there on Twitter. And it's like, there are people that still like to have nuance. Like, I don't have to agree with every single thing that every single person says on the right to still be on the right. There's still going to be good debates, just like there's some people on the left that I might hate their guts, but if they make a point, they make a point. And that's okay to say, hey, solid point. You're an idiot for everything else you say, but in this, we are cool. And I think people have lost that. And I think that's something that needs to come back. And Elon is good in that sense, where when he does get called out, he gets criticized sometimes for responding. Like I remember Viva Fry put out, okay, unban Alex Jones. And he's just like, no, that's personal. I'm not bringing Alex Jones back. Whereas much as it's like not very free speech of him, at least thank you for coming out and just telling us why you're not bringing him back. Like, yeah, suck it up.
And if it's a personal grudge, Elon's taking all that heat. He's not putting that on the back burner, blaming an algorithm or some arbitrary thing that's nobody has control over. He's like, I don't like him. He's not coming on. It's like, all right, fuck, okay.
And good on Alex Jones for coming out immediately and was like, hey, everybody hates me. The guy's trying to pick his company up. I don't blame him for not bringing me back. So, good on Alex for that as well.
Yeah. And I think if Elon gets Twitter to a state where it's up and running very strong, he's going to bring Alex Jones back, because I don't think he has anything against Alex Jones. He just needs to make it profitable and able to stand on its own before he brings Jones back.
Yeah, and I can't blame him, because even the most staunch advertiser on the right probably doesn't like Alex and would go. And he still needs a little bit of a base there before he figures out his model. So speaking of Twitter and all the shit that they've went to, the Twitter files, Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, Barry Weiss, a whole slew of reporters that have now formed a little conglomerate and made a little news spot for themselves, have been releasing files upon files upon files, giving some good commentary throughout. And there have been a lot of things coming out. I'm not gonna lie, I have not kept up with all of it. What has there been? 6 or 7 drops now?
I think I'm 8.
Yeah. I'm fully up on like 4-ish right now. I'm finished with 4, reading through. It's a lot to read through, unless this is your job to just scroll, really analyze the documents. If you're just a normal schlub, it's hard to get through. But man, Harrison, there's been a lot exposed. But my question is this just a lot of confirmation of exactly the things that people like John Solomon on Just the News and a lot of people that we trust on the right to just give us news have been saying for a long time? And now we just have the confirmation?
Honestly, yeah. So for the longest time, the left has been, hey, it's a conspiracy theory that conservatives are suppressed, all of this stuff. And so far, it's been, hey, here's why Trump was banned. He really didn't violate any rules. Here's how the FBI has been saying to suppress speech. Here's how the FBI has been going with Twitter to do psyops. Here's how all this different stuff is going on within Twitter. It's like, all right, we already assumed that. We assumed that. So it's nice having that confirmation. And what really makes me mad about the Twitter files, all these congressmen are going on Hannity and Tucker Carlson and all that stuff, complaining about it. It's like,
do nothing.
Being like, somebody needs to do something about this. I'm like, you're the guy.
Yeah.
You do something about this. And I don't know who we attack at this point, because we can't really attack Elon Musk and Twitter because he's fixing it. But all this stuff is guaranteed going on Google, Facebook, every other platform that you can think of. Why aren't Republicans more concerned with all of this, with their speech being suppressed? And honestly, it's really concerning because Republicans don't even use their social media the way they should. So I've reached out to the John Hoeven team a few times. It's like, hey, here's how you can do your social media better. For those that don't know, he's the senator from North Dakota. It's like, you want to use your social media better? Here's what you got to do. You got to engage more with your audience. You got to make it look like you're the person managing it. It's not managed by staff. And that's how you make your social media successful as a politician. Look like you're the person doing that. And his team responded, hey, we don't think that's the best idea. The base in North Dakota really just likes seeing pictures of Hoeven with his grandchildren. And it's like, come on. It's like, you're trying to fight a fight. There was a primary challenger to Hoeven this year, pretty conservative guy, manages his own social media. He's kind of, I like to describe him as a Ron Paul type.
We need more of those.
Yeah, it's like he's willing to do all these fights and get in the weeds, and Hoeven's just sitting there on his kind of golden Senate seat because nobody's ever going to challenge him because he's North Dakota Republican royalty. And with the social media sphere, all these Republicans really don't want to do anything to address the change because they don't see the problem in it. None of their tweets being like, I did this for agricultural work are getting suppressed or anything there.
That's true.
I think the biggest white pill about the Twitter files is the fact that like it kind of confirms that we aren't at least crazy. And like you kind of knew it already just seeing the signs, but it basically confirms that we aren't crazy. But the biggest thing, like you said, is they're really not going to do anything about it. Look at the omnibus bill that's being fought. You know that's probably going to pass because the Republicans, they just do whatever the uniparty wants, and they're not really going to do anything else. They're not going to. What's going to happen at the most? Oh, what? They bring Jack Dorsey back for some reason, or they try to talk to social media companies again. Oh, come testify to us, say whatever you want, and then we'll do nothing.
And we're 2 years away from an election too, so nobody's ever going to remember this omnibus bill. 2 years from now, when we're all voting for House and the third of the Senate seats up, nobody's gonna remember this. So they don't care.
Yeah.
And you know, with the omnibus bill, I'm a little mad at Rand Paul. I'm not gonna lie. As much as I like Rand, man, you threatened to make the clerk read it. Do it. Why aren't we doing that? A member of Congress can demand that a bill be read on the floor. They can demand that. And I'm pretty sure Rand Paul would have the backing of enough senators there. I think it's like it doesn't even have to be many senators that demand it. Make the freaking clerk read that 4,000 page bill on the floor. I
don't think anybody would ever work with him ever again. Because it's 72 hours of reading. Yeah. If you got to sit there for 72 hours, you're going to be like, man, fuck Rand Paul. I don't want to.
But you know what, though? It would be worth it. But again, that's a type of statesman we need, though. We need the statesman that would be like, I did the right thing. Go on social media, tell everyone to kick rocks. Because until we have those guys willing to do that, we're not going to have anything. And I like Rand. And Rand's good on a lot. But man, he should have done that. I really think he should have. And then maybe at that point, once they get to 24 hours, then he could stand out and be like, stop. What are we doing here, everybody? What are we doing here? And, make a scene like any other psycho liberal would, like an AOC would, like a Bernie would, like any of them would. Like, what do you mean? Like, Ted Cruz isn't the greatest conservative, right? But when he did that fantastic filibuster, when he was on the floor for, I think it was like 26 hours, that was fucking awesome. Like, I'm not the biggest Ted Cruz fan, but that was great. And it got the point across. So I think we don't have statesmen anymore, Harrison. We don't have statesmen in Congress anymore.
No, we do
it
not.
Sucks. It sucks. Not a fan of it. So here's another question. If you're Ed Snowden and Julian Assange looking at the Twitter files right now, how are you not just like, what's going on, guys? They did the same thing we did. They're doing the same thing. Why are we now banned from the country and wanted around the world, and Elon's walking scot-free?
Elon has money.
Yeah.
The basic answer to that is nobody's going to fuck with Elon when he's the richest man in the world. Snowden and Assange, I'm kind of torn on my position on Assange because I don't like his absolute nothing should be classified stance that he takes on that, where it's like, yeah, certain things do need to be classified, but the classification system really breaks down when nobody trusts our government anymore.
Yep.
So I was listening to Eliza Blue talk about nothing should be classified. If you're familiar with Eliza Blue at all, she's saying nothing should be classified. I'm a taxpayer. And it's like, yeah, that's a stance we take when we don't trust our government. That's kind of the position we were in with the Twitter files. It's like, do we want the government to regulate big tech when we don't trust the government to begin with?
Yep.
And who do we pick? And it's like, I'd rather have Elon running the show and having big tech screw us on their own than having them screw us through the government, or have the government screw us through them. But with Assange and Snowden should be back. His wasn't as bad as Julian Assange on the kind of the controversy side of things. But if I were Snowden, I wouldn't come back even if I got a full-on pardon. They're going to take him out easily.
Yeah.
It's like he should get passage to Ecuador where he was going to go to begin with and kind of just set up a life for himself. But should he come back to the U.S., it's not safe for him regardless of the government's position because they're going to take him out regardless if he's forgiven in the U.S. law or not.
Yeah, nothing should be classified as a stupid take because if we've learned anything, we can, us three here, we can have a reasonable debate. Even if we disagree, we can have a good, rational conversation, understand each other. But a group of people can be convinced of anything for the most part, right? A group of people, a mob mentality doesn't become that smart. So when everything is declassified, very easy to control mobs, spin things the way you want them to. No one reads everything. So they're just going to get their blurbs from whatever their favorite media source is. So yeah, the nothing should be declassified thing is a terrible idea because there are some things that we probably should not know. And I'm okay with that for national security purposes, like legitimate. But then again, they abuse that. And that's the problem. They abuse what national security necessity is. And we know they do. And that's why we don't trust them completely at all.
Oh, yeah. And with Assange and all of that stuff, with that, nothing should be classified. It's like we need to maintain a certain level or a certain perception in the United States because deep down, we're doing all the sketchy shit our adversaries are doing. We're censoring, we're locking people up, we're doing all of this stuff. And it's like, if we ever want to win a war, we need the support of the American people.
Yep.
Should we put our support behind the government? I don't like the government in general. I think the American people are where it's at. And I support the American people. When I say I support America, I don't support the American government because they always suck. But we need to give a reason for people to back the American people, even though their government sucks.
Yeah. Yep. Go in the States, go local. That's the best way to do it, right? Small as fed as possible, the way it was designed. So Twitter has been trying to do something where we've had a big time, miscommunication, disinformation, misinformation was such a big buzzword on Twitter. They were obviously they were trying to censor what a lot of conservatives were saying, Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough being taken off for saying the truth about COVID vaccinations and a lot of the adverse effects and things like that and ivermectin and all that. So Twitter's trying to switch gears. For a little while, they introduced something called Birdwatch. Now it's called Community Notes, where essentially you go into this community, you enter into this community, and if you see a tweet, you can write a note with something to correct the tweet. And if enough of the consensus goes along with what you're saying, it eventually becomes a little blurb underneath the tweet to kind of give people a little more of a frame of reference on what that tweet is saying. What do you feel? How do you feel about Birdwatch in general as a fact checking the fact checkers, I guess, source?
So I've been involved with Birdwatch since the very beginning. That's when I initially got my contacts with Twitter. Cool. They saw me as an active user using it because I'm like, hey, if we don't, as right-wing people, if we don't jump into space, it's going to be dominated by the left.
Yes. Yeah.
So accurate. I'm like, I got to jump in because I don't want to be dominated by the left. So they throw all the top contributors into this Discord server where we can communicate with the Twitter team, get feedback, really develop this program and make it user-friendly on our end. And I'm the lone conservative in there.
Nobody else. What was that like?
It was fun because it's like I'm used to being the lone conservative. I came off of a college campus 4 years ago. So I'm used to being the lone conservative, but ultimately it's like the moderators from Twitter were good enough where we can debate our ideas without getting too personal. It's like, if it's right, it makes it through. If it's incorrect, it doesn't make it through. It's like, I've thrown some wrong stuff in there as anybody else would, but the Twitter moderators were actually really good at making sure, hey, don't get personal. That doesn't make sense. Really being neutral in the space. And it's like, that's why I'm sad that my friends over at Twitter got banned, or not banned, but fired. Yeah. Because there were some actual quality Twitter employees. But with Birdwatch as a whole, as being the only conservative, like one of the earliest things that really pushed the developer team was that diversity of perspectives that we're seeing now, where it's like, so are we going to admit our biases that we have in here? Because it's going to be we can't just all say that we're not biased at all when we're rating and writing.
Absolutely, we are.
Yeah, it's like everybody's bias. It's best to get that out in front of us and work through that rather than pretending they don't exist. So that was one of the earliest things I was pushing for within the program. There's a lot of pushback where people on the left were like, why should people that think a spaghetti monster conspiracy theory be deciding the impact of notes? And it's like, one, people on the right don't think all these conspiracy theories. There's rational people on the right. We have our crazies, of course, QAnon people, but they're not the people that dominate the space. It's like, but if you can get one of those crazy people, one of the crazy QAnon people, and one of the crazy left-wing Antifa people to agree on a fact check, it's probably a pretty damn good fact check at that point. Yeah. And that's kind of how they push it through. It's like, if you can get people on the left and people on the right and whatever political affiliation there are to agree, then it's a pretty good note. And it rewards users based on, you get rewarded based on how your note rating is. There was a thing that I discovered today. They rank all of the Birdwatch users on the best Birdwatch note. So the amount you get shown actually on Twitter, they rank you on that. And I found out I was ranked number 4 in the world on that. So I'm like, because I've landed fact checks on the president, Zelensky, all those people. And it's like, I find it hilarious when one of those fact checks makes the news or something, because it's kind of, I'm not taking it too seriously. Yeah. But it's like, it's not that hard for these mainstream media to correct these lies either. But overall, I think it's a pretty good program. The left-wing people in there, they're all super nice. It's like, they're reasonable, able to have a conversation. We clash at times, but when you actually get down and spend months in a server with people, it's like, you kind of know who they are. You figure them out. It's like, hey, you're improving my writing by criticizing any biases I have. I'm improving your writing by criticizing any biases you have. And so far, all the notes that I've seen make it through. There's a few that make it through that are kind of trash, but most of them are pretty high quality notes that make it through the program. And I think that's just built through the collaboration of the people in there, where we can weed out the very bad notes on each side, and it gets weeded out if it doesn't even need a note at all. People will not rate it helpful, where it's like, if you're going to fact check something stupid, nobody's going to rate that helpful.
Fact check a meme.
Where if you go on any Elon Musk thing, it's like, most of his don't get fact checked because 99% of the fact checks written on there are just people saying, fuck you, Elon. I don't like you. Go to hell.
You're on a server with these people, and it's a lot harder to be a douche to someone when you kind of get to know them, right? When you actually have to talk to them and you actually have to talk to, and like you get to know them more than besides the fact that you only thing you know about them is they're on the right. Like it is harder to be a douche. But one thing I heard from this that you said, without saying it too much, Harrison, is conservatives need to get involved more. Thinking conservatives that really research, that work hard, that, and there's a lot of really good conservatives that do these fantastic threads where they have a lot of good detail in it. We need people like that. Like, you're somebody who is a pretty big voice on Twitter that is taking the time out of your day to go and make sure that things are correct there. We need more and more conservatives. I mean, David and I think, need to put our money where our mouth is and at least get involved there. But we need them to come on because, like you said, if conservatives don't jump in, it's going to be a left-dominated space. And all we're going to do on the right again is complain and complain and complain and complain because we're very good at that. So we need to get involved. We need to do as much as we can because Alexander Solzhenitsyn said it the best way. You may be tired, but the communists never get tired. They just keep going and they keep reinventing themselves. And we need to get in there.
And part of that, I think conservatives that know their shit need to get involved more.
Yes.
I hate seeing conservative arguments from people that really just botch the conservative base. It's like
the talking point heroes.
If you don't know what you're saying, I'll call out Tommy Lahren for this. I think Tommy's kind of bad and she's not well read. But conservatives in general, it's like, go read books, figure out why you believe these things. Because right away when I started off in kind of this conservative sphere, it's like, I feel all these things, but I really didn't understand why I really believed it. So it was freshman year in college for me, 2016 election. And I'm always I was the only conservative in the dorm, kind of defending my position for Trump. And it's like, all right, I really need to know my position on Trump if I'm going to defend him because he's going to be attacked at every single angle. I better be able to back up what I'm saying. Otherwise, don't talk about it. So it's like, if you don't know your stuff, read the Federalist Papers, learn why you believe what you believe, read the Constitution, read leftist philosophy. So read the Communist Manifesto, Engels, Marx, all those people. Be able to know the left's argument far better than they even know their own argument. And that's when you should be able to start coming out and really talking about it.
And I'll tell you this, if you're too lazy to read, our podcast space is great. James Lindsay on New Discourses does an amazing job where it's time consuming. You need to sit down, dedicate 2.5, 3, 4 hours sometimes. Well, he'll read full papers from Hegel. He'll read these big things. He'll read big woke academic papers, break them down, kind of talk about what they mean. And there's plenty of other people that do that. I'm a big fan of James and what he does at New Discourses. He's helped me learn a lot about the wokeism. And don't complain about wokeism, CRT or anything if you haven't read Ibram X. Kendi. If you haven't gone and read, How to Be Anti-Racist, I've suffered through How to Be Anti-Racist. I suffered too, Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates and, Robin DiAngelo.
Jones, 1619.
Oh my God. But the thing is, but you don't suffer through that. I'm with you on that. And David knows I'm a big proponent of this. I say I'm going to hurt myself for a little bit, but you have to sit there. If you don't know what they're thinking, how are you against something when you don't know what it is? You have to know what their argument is.
Yeah, absolutely. I found Audible super helpful. So I hate reading.
I use Libby. Libby's my big one for the library card because it's free.
I'll go to the gym for like 2 hours. I did this a lot in college. Go to the gym, throw in an audiobook for like 2 hours. And you're crushing a book a week at just working out at the gym. And it's like, all right, that's a way to do it.
Yeah.
But being well read before you come out and speak is huge. It's like, otherwise, regular conservatives, like, you can still talk on stuff. It's like, but stick to the issues that you really know. If you don't know an argument in and out, you shouldn't be commenting on it, or you shouldn't be commenting on it. Go support somebody else who can make a better argument. It's like, I'm not saying I'm infallible. I've made some dumbass arguments on Twitter.
But that's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be proven wrong and be like, you know what? Touche. That's it. Touche. Good job. Thanks. I learned something.
Yeah. And when in doubt, ask questions.
Yeah.
And that's what you should do. It's like, when you ask questions, odds are the people that you're debating online, or you're never going to change your mind or anything, but it's like, ask questions. Most of these people can't defend their points either.
Yep.
And when I've gotten sometimes where, again, when you get into Twitter debates, you sit there and you write something and you press send and you're like, yeah, that was dumb. This person's semi-intelligent. They're probably going to mess me up. And then they do. And then you respond. And I've gotten so many times from people, even on the left, that's like, you know what? Thanks for being human. It's like, you're welcome. We're allowed to sit there. You're allowed to get one every once in a while. It's like, but I agree with you. Like, I always preach, be learned on what you hate. Because you know what? It's pretty easy to figure out what we like, right? You pick up a book, you read a Dinesh D'Souza book, which Dinesh D'Souza is sometimes a little crazy. His books are fantastic, though, right? Death of a Nation is one of my favorite books that he's written. But you pick up a lot of the conservative philosophers, you read it, you just nod your head, right? Because a lot of it you agree with. But man, you got to pick up the stuff you disagree with. I feel like that's super important. I'm a huge proponent of that. And with Twitter community notes, that's definitely going to be helpful. So with these little blurbs that show up now when a note gets created, with someone like you in there that's going to create some pretty decent notes, do you think a lot of people are going to take notice to this? And a lot of conservatives who have kind of become desensitized to the little note underneath a tweet that usually led to misinformation or something. Now we're going to see notes that are supposed to be helpful. How do we change a conservative mind, or even anyone's mind that looks at these notes and is so desensitized and maybe just goes, I don't care?
So there's no way to really stop that I don't care kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. But based on what we're seeing, we're giving the analytics on our end. If I put a note on the president's tweet, it'll get millions of views. If I throw one on some liberal influencers, it'll get maybe 100,000 views, and a smaller one, 1,000 views. Mm-hmm. But with all of these notes and all of that stuff, I would say join the program, because it's one of those programs where it's like, you can join it yourself. So if you want to change the program, go ahead and join it. Go to Community Notes, at Community Notes on Twitter, and go join it. They'll make you write a bunch of notes or rate a bunch of notes before you can actually write notes, so you can understand what good notes look like. Yeah. It's like, go be the change you want to see. If these notes don't meet your standard, go write your own damn notes on these tweets. People are trying on there. And a lot of the stuff, the Democrats and the Biden administration, the politicians, they've noticed this, and they're getting better at their tweets now. Mm-hmm. So it's like, one thing I've noticed, it's harder to put notes on their tweets because they're not technically incorrect, and you kind of got to stretch to get that incorrect view because the way they're twisting. It's like, yeah, Donald Trump didn't pay taxes in 2020, but it's like, you can't really throw a note on that because he didn't.
And do you want to become the fact checkers the way they were, right? Where it was like, this isn't completely wrong, but we found the reason for it to be semi-wrong. Like, we don't want to be those people either.
But if we're changing the way they're tweeting, that means we're having an impact on them. And that's a good thing. It's like, you can always go for that low-hanging fruit. One of those, like JoJo from Jurors, she's hilarious.
God, that's amazing seeing her pop up, especially on the list.
She blocked me a while ago, but she's hilarious. But seeing her, it's like, they're not hard to throw notes on. Like, she's blatantly lying. You can be like, here's the source, here's what she said, here's what's incorrect about it, here's the truth. Boom, it's up within 10 hours at this point.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And I think that's something that, as long as it stays the way it is, then it could be something that really, really works. Now, Elon did his poll the other day. Should I step down as CEO? And I think the bots were big in there. He lost by 50. It was like 50-something% to 40-something%.
The Tesla shareholders were big in there.
Tesla shareholders were huge in there. Huge. So obviously he hasn't stepped down yet. There's rumors maybe he might do a CEO. How big would it be if Donald Trump becomes a CEO?
I don't think he would, because he's kind of one of those old school conservatives that really doesn't know what tech is.
And that's why he'd be beautiful.
He liked tweeting because he could change news cycles, and that's about it. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if a Kushner went in there. I don't trust Kushner. I think he does some good things. I think he does some sketchy things, but I don't trust Kushner. I think if you saw that Lex Friedman wanted to jump in, but I don't think Elon's going to step down anytime soon, because one, nobody's qualified for that job. Yeah. And anybody that is doesn't want it because they know the hellhole that it is. Mm-hmm. So I think Elon's going to be trapped there as CEO for a while if the company doesn't go bankrupt, which I hope it doesn't. But yeah, I think his whole problem is trying to find somebody to fill that role as CEO, or find somebody as a figurehead role so it can take the heat off of him, so he can operate in the background. It's like, I'm just Elon Musk. I'm managing these engineer teams, doing my thing. Go look at Jack Dorsey over there, who's on the beach in Italy. He's the one you should be mad at.
To the guy behind the curtain.
I think that'll be his first step, is finding just a figurehead, somebody to take the news blow off of him. It's like, and to make these announcements, go find a kind of tech conservative guy who's really good with the media and can kind of say, but doesn't operate in the day-to-day stuff, just to take the heat off of it and pretend like he's the guy making decisions.
I found Elon's response to Lex pretty funny when he's like, do you feel like just being bankrupt within the next few months? And Lex was like, I'm all in. Like Lex form was like, I'm all in. But Elon was just without like any sort of subtlety. It's like, do you feel like going on a plane that's crashing and you broke the wheel? Like Elon was just so blunt about it. I love that response.
I really do feel like if he does find another CEO at some point sooner or later, like I really want someone that shitposts as much as he does, because that is an embodiment of Twitter.
well, he's the new Trump at shitposting on Twitter. It's like everybody tunes in. And it's like, I have him on a list of quick comments, because if you comment on an Elon post quick enough, you're gonna get thousands of likes. So it's like, it doesn't even have to be anything good. It just has to be some bullshit shit.
Exactly.
So what I just heard, Harrison Krank for Twitter CEO 2023. Let's get it.
If he pays me enough, I'll do it. I'm pretty expensive to hire. I need $1 billion salary, Elon. Exactly. So if you hear this, reach me out. I'll take all the shit you need.
Unfortunately, he just lost $3 billion in like this podcast that we just had.
Shit. Sorry, Elon.
But all right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Harrison, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was lots of fun. Again, he's Harrison Krank. If you are not following, go search at Harrison Krank. Harrison, HARRISON. Krank, CRANK, not Crank.
KR.
Wow. I'm looking at it, staring at it, and I said C. KRANK. So at Harrison Krank, go follow him. A great follow. Awesome to come on. He's a conservative Twitter personality. Lots of fun on there. I love seeing his tweets and following him. Now he may actually respond to me and retweet me because he knows who I am. But again, really cool show. I love having it. Dave, do you have anything to say before we close out?
I guess major theme is involvement. If you want to see change, get involved like Harrison here. If you want to actually do things, you need to get involved, especially from a conservative perspective.
Certainly. Harrison, any last words before we jump out of here?
Go follow me on Twitter. You can reach me there. If you want to see what I'm up to in my regular life, go hit me up on Instagram. Same handle. I don't post too much on there because it's Instagram, but follow me on there if you want. But Twitter is where I do most of my takes. Super appreciate it if you go subscribe to me on Twitter. Go pay that $5. See some exclusive tweets that are behind the paywall. So go do that. Help fund me a little bit.
Very cool. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars. Go find us on the socials, The Alex Cuesta Show. We'll be back next week. So long, everyone.